Like, think about it. If Governor Newsom, who, because we live in Cali, but if Governor Newsom said public executions are going to be now a public thing, hence the name public execution. We're going to execute, these people in downtown LA at so and so time.
Oh my God.
And
on Skid Row.
Come watch. People are going to throw a fucking fit. People are going to be like, this is unethical, this is that, whatever. Back in the day, they would have been like, oh shit, you going to that public execution?
We got to call out.
I'm calling out of work. I got to make it. Like, I got to go. Back in the day, it was normal. Nowadays, if you started again, people are going to start an uproar.
You know what's funny about that?
What?
I want to, we need to start a dialogue on this part. We're going to start a dialogue. Famous words of Charles Barkley, where he said, where there's a woman that put up a sign that said, if animals can be put down for attacking and biting, and even just like a child's arm, hand, or whatever, and they could be put down, why can't the same be done to pedophiles? Because even if fucking Billy Old Joe over here just fucking went, hey little girl, what you want, little girl, and then she's traumatized for life, and it goes further and shit. Well, I mean, I'll just say what the fuck science said. Like, if animals can be put down, any animal, then why can't pedophiles be put down and shit?
Because again, it's an ethical thing. Think about it. People put down animals every day, right? People put down animals every day. A lot of people think that animals, whether it be cows, pigs, sheep, dogs, cats, people think that animals aren't conscious. Like, they don't think like we do. Now, if you do that to a human, again, there goes the ethical issue. Should we really be putting down people because they did something wrong? Believe it or not, if you were to have a friend, right, that for whatever reason decided to go touch his little neighbor,
what the fuck?
Right? He went to go touch his neighbor, his kid. He became a pedophile, and they wanted to put him down. If you were really close with this man or this female, people are going to be like, well, I don't, his close friends are going to be like, well, you shouldn't be doing that, man. He's just sick. They're going to come up with excuses. And then if you decide to put him down because they did this, it's a moral issue. They're going to be like, well, he just made a bad decision. Give him another chance. And there goes that ethical issue. Like, should we really be putting down people for one mistake?
Look at people who murder other people, bro, just because they stole their PlayStation, dude. There's people out there.
Well, you see, when it comes to stuff like that, when it comes to
an eye for an eye, that's what I'm saying.
That whole issue of like, well, this person murdered that person. Technically, it could be in self-defense, right? For example, if you got jumped, dog, right? And you got jumped and the guy had a gun and you had a gun and you were able to draw your gun quicker and you shot him to death, you're going to tell the cops, I shot him because he was trying to rob me. Mm-hmm. And then, they'll take you to trial, whatever. And if the jury finds you, non-guilty of all accounts on murder or whatever, they'll find you not guilty, but they'll find you guilty for, I don't know, what's a word? Not manslaughter, but there's another word for it where it's self-defense, and obviously you're not going to get a lot of time, or fuck it, you might not get time at all because it was in self-defense. Yeah. So same thing when it comes to that, like, if there's a murder case and it turns out, okay, well, we executed this man, but then you find out later that, oh shoot, he technically was innocent because it was in self-defense. There goes another issue, another moral, ethical issue. Should we really be putting people down right away because, they did this without actually us proving it? You know what I'm saying? Mm. And it's just going to be time and money if you think about it. Because if they do go with it, like let's say they do it, right? They do say, okay, we're going to be putting people down. For example, just an example, I'm not saying this happened. Lord Squid, you have been convicted of, murder of the first degree. And you're going to be like, bro, I didn't do it. And now you get executed and you're gone because you murdered someone in the first degree. 2 years later, oh shit, he was actually innocent. Well, how are we going to get him back, bro? if he's already
I don't know,
gone?
man.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, and I think also
It becomes a whole moral issue, dude.
I mean, that whole thing is stupid. I mean, especially like, let's just say, for example, right? What's that dude's name? The guy who killed Gabriel Hernandez or Fernandez. His stepdad straight up tortured him to death, and I think he got the death penalty. And his mom, who was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna let it happen and shit. In my eyes, I'm like, why the fuck doesn't the mom get the death penalty too? Like, that's her kid, and she let it happen.
No, it's true. It's very true when it comes to certain examples, but that's why we have the whole law issue and the whole law system in place, because we have to hold people accountable. Some people get really lucky, and even if they did do it, if murder was the case, they get found non-guilty, even though they did do it. So it technically is kind of a hit or miss, but most of the times we do hit them. We do get them.
All I'm saying, man, is the United States ain't no United Nation, man. It's just if we were united, we'd all have the same laws, the same shit. Going back to that one economic shit you're talking about. Oh, I had a thought where
Okay.
I was like, why don't the states that get no income tax, or that, like, for example, California, people are
Okay.
like, it's so luxurious here and stuff. I'm like, yeah, unless you're like fucking making what, $200,000 a year and shit, and you can still live off of that. And I saw
Probably more than that.
and I saw something about like how they did like the tax equations and shit. And I think somebody making like 150,000, 200,000 made what, like, after taxes and all the fucking money grabbing shit, they walk away with like 75 grand or something.
Yeah, bro.
And I'm like, what the fuck? And the supposed amount to live here in California is like what, 80,000?
So look,
And, like,
realistically,
what?
if you make right, realistically speaking, if you make, because I know people that make $150,000 a year, right? Personally, I know them. If they make more than $150,000 a year, they're still technically living like normal people. Why? Because of taxes, bro. I genuinely think if you live in California, North or South California, whatever, or West or East or whatever, if you live in like, for example, San Francisco, if you live comfortably in San Francisco, you have to be making, bro. You have to be making more than like
300 bare minimum.
300, 400,000 a
minimum.
year.
Yeah.
And I'm talking comfortably, like you don't worry about bills.
Mm-mm.
You barely work, 3-4 days out of the week, and you're chilling. For example, like big YouTubers, like if a big YouTuber, like let's say PewDiePie could he can live very comfortably, in California, right? After bills, taxes, paying editors and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure he could live very comfortably in California. Somebody like the average Joe, my neighbor, James, not his real name, but James. If James is making $70,000 a year, that motherfucker is struggling in Cali. And I mean struggling. Why? Because rent alone is like $1,800 a month. Not including bills, not including expenses like gas, regular toothbrushes and toothpaste and all that stuff.
Miscellaneous things and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Miscellaneous items. My boy James is struggling. He needs some help.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
And I was talking with some of my family members. I'm like, why don't states like Texas, right? Like, if you look at the average, like 200, no, what was it? The average, like $500,000 house here where we live compared to one in Texas, bro, it is like if it's like fucking Michael's house in GTA to what's the dude's name?
Trevor's house.
To Trevor's fucking trailer park. And I'm like, what the fuck? And in my eyes, I'm like, if people who are being taxed that much in Cali, why like to Texas motherfuckers, why don't they get taxed more like Florida motherfuckers do too?
I think
Cali gets taxed less.
I think Cali gets taxed a lot more, and we have a lot more, higher percentages because California became like the go-to state. For example, back in the day, If you lived in California, you were like, damn, I'm living in Cali, bro. Like, oh my God, you're living in Cali?
That was like the dream, bro.
You're a Cali person? You live in
LA?
You live in Hollywood?
What?
Dude, that's crazy. And if you said I live in San Francisco, oh my God, you live in San Francisco?
You live in the Bay Area. You live in the
Dude.
city, bro.
That is insane. You must be packing, and I'm not talking about down there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you must be fucking packing money.
Yes, sir.
Nowadays, it's like you live in San Francisco. Damn, that's ghetto as hell.
Yeah, bro. You just stepping
You
in
live
shit
in
every
LA?
other.
Are you sure you're doing okay, Bars?
Yeah, man. You sure you don't got fentanyl laced in your shit,
You know
dude?
that? Yeah. Nowadays, the California now and the whole California in general has become such a wasteland of
Grandma, man.
Gang activity, drugs, homelessness, and all this stuff.
Oh my God.
And I think the government has to do a lot with it.